All right, so I've never seen this podcast before, but they got the former president Donald Trump. I guess they interviewed rappers and stuff like that. I'm not familiar, but
I'm a little nervous. Yeah.
this is so.
I mean, for this one, kind of.
like
The other ones are
former
like
president
whatever.
on a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of intense.
But I know Don.
this.
He's trying to build his stuff up. I know Ron DeSantis is like pretty much was taking over his spot, and Don didn't like it. So Don is trying.
All the other reporters, they do this too. They just don't show it. Right? Yeah. Tucker definitely. Tucker doesn't drink, but Sean Hannity definitely signs a few before. But we're gonna show it, because we're a lot more real. So. On the Full Send podcast, we're shouting out bars that carry Happy Dad. East Nevada, in Dallas, Houston. If you want to show.
They're not going to cut you again. They're not going to cut you again. They don't have the courage to do that. Coming to the speech, I'm making a speech in a little while.
Are you?
As soon as I'm finished with you,
Oh my God, we have to go for sure.
then the easy work starts. The
Exactly.
speech.
No, we were saying last time we had you on, it's a great honor to have you back. We really
That's right.
appreciate
They've
it.
had
Last
him
time
on
we had you
before?
on, it was our biggest episode ever, obviously.
Yeah.
7 million views in 24 hours. It was
This one's
crushing,
at
going viral.
2 mil.
I feel like you did such a good job too. Like everybody loved it on both
10 hours.
sides, and then YouTube took it down.
What?
But you called it.
But you guys were great. You said, we will not change it. We're not going to amend it. We're not going to take anything out. And it did really
stuck
hit.
to
It
the
was a
word.
big monster, wasn't it?
Huge. And
I
then
would
we saw
assume.
you at
Did they get
we
the
saw you at
money?
UFC. Obviously,
Yeah.
we're good friends with Dana. We want to give a shout out to Dana for
Shout out
even
Dana.
putting
He's
this together.
amazing, actually, isn't he?
He's the best guy
amazing.
ever.
We walked in and he said he's never seen anything like that. That was a good walk-in. The place went crazy. It went wild.
When you
And-
walk in like that, do you always expect like a response like that, or are you ever kind of nervous about what the response
Well,
is
I'm
going
not
to be?
too nervous about it. I feel that arena, we had 100% support, and they're incredible people, incredible fighters, great athletes. They're beyond athletes. No athlete can take punishment like that. 250 shots to the face during a round,
Yeah.
and then look forward to the second round. Right? I mean, who does
And then
that?
the press
But
conference.
Dana's
right after.
amazing. And Dana's, one of the few people that you can say probably could never be the same without him. Everybody's replaceable, they say. As you get older, you'll hear that. I don't think you guys are replaceable from what I understand. I don't think so. But Dana's very unique, and what he's done with UFC is incredible.
I don't know.
for sure.
How does it
As
feel?
much as a lot of people hate Dana White, honestly, the UFC is Dana White. If somebody else replaced him, it's like if you replace Vince McMahon in WWE. It's like it's not the same. Like even though Vince is in the background because he's old and stuff, like he still runs the show. Like you can tell, Vince still runs the show.
To have that
So,
continued
I don't
support
think it'll
from
be the
Dana, because
same.
we know some people
I don't know
probably
if it'll
folded on
fail,
you.
though.
We have, I do. I have continued support from Dana. And, Dana's a tough guy, and he's a smart guy, and he's a loyal person. And I helped Dana at the very beginning when nobody wanted to put UFC on, and I had
Word?
places that were able to do it, and I did it.
I don't know. Donna's good at lying, bro. Like he is good at lying. So I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, Don has had money and fame before he was even running for president. I don't know. Maybe. I don't
And
know.
I actually went to the first fight ever, and I said, wow, this is unbelievable.
I mean, you can
And I
check
think we
that
did
if
five
you
of
show.
them at the
You can check
beginning,
that.
and then it started catching on. And Dana remembers that. A lot of people don't remember, like you endorse a politician and they forget
Yeah.
all of a sudden if it's convenient for them. So, but a lot of people don't.
That's how it was
Dana's
with
a very
business-
loyal person, and
business in general.
he's a good friend of mine.
But when we saw you at UFC too, Dana told us you were coming. We got really excited, and I asked you. I was like, Mr. Trump, do you want to come on the Full Send podcast again? I feel like it's such good timing
I
right now.
haven't heard Mr. Trump in a long time. I'm so used to hearing President Trump.
Like, I don't know. Personally, me, I'm watching everything going on here and also abroad around the world. And I just feel like it's such a good time to have you on to speak. Cause like,
Great.
I don't care what anyone says. Like, I don't care about the backlash. Like, I feel like we need you back right now. Like, we need you back in office. And like, I feel like if people have anything against you, they got to put it aside. Cause like, I feel like you're the only one right now that can really fix the problems here.
I don't know if he's being genuine or if he's just kissing ass. Maybe a little bit of both. I would say Donald Trump's presidency wasn't terrible, but no presidency is perfect. So honestly, President Trump wasn't saying he did a lot of crazy shit, but he did do a lot of good shit for like veterans and military. He did up our pays and stuff like that. So I don't have anything against him because of that. So I am biased. I am, conscious enough to say that I am biased towards President Trump for what he did for me But at the same time, I've seen he done a lot of crazy stuff and then denied a lot of crazy stuff too. So I mean, take the good with the bad. COVID denier, whatever. Politics aside, it's a mix. He wasn't the worst president. Okay, he wasn't the worst president. There's literally presidents that have had way worse scandals than whatever President Trump had talked about or tweeted about. But he wasn't perfect. He wasn't perfect. On a scale of 1 to 10, I want to say President Trump was probably like a 6.5, maybe a 7.
And abroad.
Well, it's really nice that you say that. I appreciate it. I know you come from both sides of it, right? You have
a little bit.
You have the little bit left side and you have the little bit right side, and sometimes the strong right side because we have to take care of our country. But we've never, as a country, been in the danger that we're in right now. You have other countries, and in particular Russia, but other countries talking the N word, which is the nuclear word in this case, and you can't.
I'm not gonna lie, he had me at first, bro. I was like, the N word. What, like social justice? Like, okay, Putin says the N word. I'm not surprised. But no, nuclear war is terrible. That is terrible.
You can't use that term. You can't use
because there's two N words, right?
There are two N words, right? There's
Which one's worse?
They're both real bad.
That's a good sidestep.
You can't use the nuclear word. You just can't do it. And if you do it, nobody used it during my term because it's so devastating. It's so horrible. If you look at the power of weaponry, the power of nuclear weapons, and all of a sudden now everybody's using it. It's like become just a common part of every speech. And that leads to very bad things. Our country has never been in the danger it's been in. We don't have ammunition. I don't know if you know that. You've been reading. You guys really keep up with it, but we have very little ammunition. I gave them a brand new, beautiful military loaded up with ammunition, and we've given much of the ammunition away to Ukraine and other places.
Yeah.
And we're very vulnerable right now. We're very vulnerable. And now on top of everything else, we're supposed to go over to Taiwan and help them.
Yeah, so we're building bases in the Philippines. I know that much. Right across from the South China Sea.
At some point, we're going to have to defend ourselves, and we're going to have to make sure that things are going along. You never heard of a problem with Taiwan, and you never heard of a problem with Ukraine just 3 years ago. It's like...
No, that's not true. Taiwan has been having issues with China for a very long time. Same with Hong Kong. That's not true.
Incredible to see this happening. Putin would have never, ever in a million years gone into Ukraine. And President Xi of China would have never, ever, he never talked about it. He wouldn't have done it. And I had conversations with both of them about...
Why would he? Politicians are liars. Like, why the fuck would he tell you, like, you're literally the enemy? Why would he say, yeah, man, I'm thinking about invading this country over here, bro. Don't step in, please. Like,
about those subjects, Taiwan and Ukraine, respectively. And I will tell you, there was no way they would have done Taiwan or Ukraine. This wouldn't have happened.
Ukraine and Russia have had issues, but I don't know. But Taiwan and China have been bumping heads for a long time, man.
And now it's almost happening routinely. I think what happened that was so bad was Afghanistan, not the withdrawal, because I had it down to 2,500 troops. We were going to keep Bagram, the big Air Force base, because it's, as you know, you've heard me say it, it's 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. That's a big deal. No, that's a big deal. And I didn't need it. We didn't need it for...
And we gave that up?
We gave it up. We surrendered.
We left
and this is one of the biggest bases anywhere in the world. We just walked. You know who's occupying it? Very shortly, China. China's taking it over slowly but surely, and they're going to be occupying...
That's going to be an interesting fight, man, because Afghanistan has not been conquered. It hasn't been conquered by us. It hasn't been conquered by the Russians. Nobody has conquered Afghanistan. Afghanis are fighters, bro. Like... A lot of troops in the service, they say, man, fighting Iraqis and fighting Afghanis is not the same thing. Iraqis just roll over. Afghanis fight. Like, even if China went in there with their massive numbers, I don't think they can do it. Nobody can conquer Afghanistan.
Right.
No one.
The whole thing, Bagram. And the way we left Afghanistan was, I think, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And I think that when Putin and Xi and others saw that, they said, we're incompetent. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know what we're doing. And I think that emboldened him to go and do the Ukraine thing. And
that's his opinion. I don't think so. What Leaving Afghanistan, definitely, it wasn't embarrassing, but it was like, what the fuck? It felt like a waste of money, waste of time. We did all this. We trained the whatever. We trained these people, and then as soon as the Taliban come in, they're like, yeah, no, like, take it back, Taliban. We don't want it. We're not going to fight. So we wasted the Green Berets' time. We wasted Rangers' time, infantry, air support, artillery, medics, several lives, and it felt like it was for nothing. At the end of the day, it felt like it was for nothing.
what a mess. But that country's being obliterated.
What's so strategic about Taiwan?
Well,
like, why are we?
It's 90% of the chips. You know about chips better than
For
most
computers.
people.
Yeah.
You deal in
chips,
chips,
phone chips, all
and
chips.
but 90% of the chips and the toughest ones, the most intricate ones, they're made in. And look, they took a lot of business away from us. In all fairness, I do ask. They
Well,
make
you're right,
tremendous
but
amounts of money.
like, why can't we do it ourselves? I mean, we don't really. Do we have the resources to create the chips? I don't know. Do we have the people? Do we have the manpower of people that know how to create the chips? I don't know. But usually, 9 times out of 10, it comes down to money. How much does it cost us to manufacture, train people, and distribute the chips versus just buying it from Taiwan that already did all that shit?
In Taiwan.
Apparently,
And
it's cheaper. So
I do
that's where
say,
we go.
well, if we're going to defend a country, aren't we supposed to be at least partially reimbursed?
Yeah.
Because they did take our chip industry, much of it, almost all of it.
To defend another country is not necessarily based off a monetary incentive. I think if you're defending another country, it's a I owe you. And a country owing you is really big. It's more than just, okay, let's get a percentage of whatever you're making. It's like, if something goes down, they're going to back us up. That's pretty much what NATO is. But NATO has been notoriously useless. Same with the United Nations. And that's why Donald Trump was pulling out of it. He's like, yeah, like, why are we working with you guys? You guys don't do anything. But I think it's in the short term, we're going to be saving money. We're not going to be sending as many resources out to other people, and we're going to keep stuff locally. In the long term, will there be a big ass World War III where we need backup? Will people put their necks on the line to defend America? Is it worth keeping these other countries in good graces? Or is America that strong where we don't need help at all? We could take on the entire world by ourselves. Fuck no. No. But, it's all these questions you have to ask when it comes down to who are we helping and why.
And they now they make approximately 90% of the world's chips. So that's a big thing, because you start throwing bombs in there and start blowing up those factories and labs where they make the chips. That's going to be a big world problem. There are a lot of problems, but the United States cannot do everything.
Facts.
And we're in a very bad position. We're in a very vulnerable position because they've given so much so fast to Ukraine that we're in a very bad defensive position. We have to build up our ammunition. Who would think that we were loaded to the gills with ammunition and everything, and we've given up so much. And now on top of it, we're supposed to go 9,000 miles away. We're 9,000 miles away from, as you know, from Taiwan, 9,000, and they're 90 miles away. This is little difference. And with that being said, we want to help people out. We want to have freedom. But, in many ways, we're no longer a democracy. When you look at what's happening in this, they've weaponized our justice system. They've done things that were unthinkable. I say we don't have a free press. Look what happened to our show the last time we did a show. Mm-hmm. You had the biggest show, you had the biggest hits, you were setting records, and they took you down.
And we were wondering why us, because you have other stuff on YouTube, press, right?
But
you have
think,
Fox News interviews.
I do.
We feel like we were targeted for that.
Well,
honestly, yeah, I mean, he's not wrong, right? He's not wrong. But, I mean, January 6th happened as well. So it's like it's hard. It's hard, man. Honestly, the country is not in a great state, and I think it's at its worst because of media, social media, different narratives, propaganda. It's hard, man. It's hard. You honestly, it's almost to the point where you need to start looking out for your own and your families.
Well, I think they targeted because it was a certain point in time, but they'll probably do it again. Let's see. Will they take this show down? Maybe.
If they take down this episode and they don't take down my reaction, that says a lot. If they take down both, that says even more.
Then maybe.
I'm not expecting this video to get over 1,000 views.
But I love that you stuck to your guns. You said we will not change it. I think you could have probably taken certain of the things that I said and that we said together out. But you stuck. So now we'll give it another shot.
No, we couldn't.
This will
sleep
be
at
a big
night.
show. This will be even bigger.
Of course.
This will be
So-
bigger. You know why? Because we're all hotter now than we were.
How much does it hurt to have people that do fold on you and switch up?
Well, look, you do what you have to do.
This is an interesting question because he's had people switch up on him for a long time. Donald Trump's old as hell. So I'd like to hear this answer.
And I just feel that I'm here for a certain reason. I'm here to defend the United States of America. I'm here to make America great again. It's a slogan, MAGA. It's become there's probably never been a slogan like it politically in this country, definitely, maybe in the world, maybe in the history of the world. But it's make America great again. And we have to put America first. Another one that came out, America first. We never put America first. We have politicians that put America last. I think Biden puts America last. It's a real problem.
What do you think? Because it seems like now that the country's more divided than it's ever been. So what would be steps
Well, I
to
think
unify?
Biden is a tremendous divisive factor.
He's a divider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a divider. It's
I need to look more at Biden's politics. I haven't brushed up on them, so I have no opinion.
came on the basis from his basement saying that, going to bring the country together, or his people wrote lines, they're going to bring the country together. No, I think the country is more divided now than it's ever been. I've never seen anything
Definitely.
like it. I thought Obama was a big divider too, but I think this is worse.
I mean, it's interesting to hear that. I mean, is the country divided? Yes. More divided than it's ever been? I don't know, because we literally had a civil war. And there's no civil war so far. So I don't know. I don't know.
Do you think that you could unify the country?
Are words worse than
I think I
guns?
can. So I tell this story when we were really rocking and rolling
Rock
before COVID came in, the China virus, a gift from China. We were doing so well. We had the
Bro, I can't believe you
number
said that shit
one
again.
in history number of jobs. To this date, we've never had anything like it. Everybody was doing well. African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, women, men, MIT graduates, Harvard graduates, Wharton graduates, people that didn't go to high school. Everybody, every single group was doing better than they've ever done. And
Well, in
the
2017,
country was doing the best. It was the greatest our
I don't know. I wasn't in the workforce at that point in time, so I didn't pay attention to it.
country has ever been. China was going to supposedly for 20 years, they were going to take over. In 2018, 2019, China would become the number one country with the economy.
But not
It wasn't happening. I was absolutely destroying them. I was charging China massive tariffs. We were taking in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. No president took in 10 cents, and I was taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. And an amazing thing happened. I was getting calls from people that were radical left or Democrats, but Democrats with a strong lean to the left. And they wanted to get together. They wanted to talk. They were coming. I'm telling you, had COVID not come in, we would have had a unified country. I was getting calls from people that wanted to meet, wanted to talk, wanted to almost make peace because we were doing so well. It was success. Success was bringing us together.
Yeah, that's not.
And I was never a strong believer that this would happen. But the success of our country did the best it ever did in history. I mean, far better than it does now. Now we have massive inflation. We have tremendous problems. I mean, supply chain problem. We have every problem you can have.
I feel like we already were going to have supply chain problems, but COVID was like, hey, everything must go. Yeah, I mean, Inflation is normal, but not to this extent. But there's a lot of factors to it because first it was COVID. So then everybody started getting stimulus checks. And then now there's a war between Ukraine and Russia has a lot of gasoline and they have a lot of oil. So now we're taxing them and we're not using it. And it's making the prices of the stuff that we do have go up. And would it be this bad if Russia didn't go into Ukraine? 100%, it wouldn't be this bad. But is it Biden's fault that Russia invaded? What if Donald Trump did, win 2020 and Russia invaded Ukraine again, even though he says, oh, he wasn't talking about it. Talking about it and thinking about it and doing it aren't all the same thing. Okay. So say they do invade. What happens then? Does Donald Trump just say, oh, well, they're not America, we're not going to help them? Okay. Like there's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of what ifs, and we cannot just blame everything on the current president. That's not how it works. Unless they actually go in and change the economics like President Reagan did, you can't really say, oh, it's this one person's fault. All this shit is happening.
Everything was perfect. We had the perfect mix of everything. And I was getting calls from people that I would never have gotten calls from. And they wanted to get together. And I'm telling you, our nation was coming together. So the answer is yes. I think success can bring us together. And I think we can have success. We have to have energy. Energy is a thing that caused inflation. When they closed up the energy, the cost of energy, the cost of a tank of gasoline, it went up to $5, $6, $7, $8 in some places. And it's still very high. And if you bring down the cost of energy and if you do some very basic things,
get rid of the windmills.
The windmills.
That's why I didn't go to Coachella this year, because when you drive to Palm Springs, you got to see all the windmills. And ever since you said that,
looks like
it just
a junkyard.
pisses me off when I see all the windmills.
How about the old ones that are sitting there rusting and nobody wants to take them down? And they say you can't put the blades underground because it would be very bad. It's a type of fiber, and you can't bury it.
Why did we build it? Because it was cheap, and now it has no use. How do you get rid of it? It costs too much money to get rid of it. Excuse me, I'm sick. It's a lot of issues, man, and nobody wants to either be the reason why it's fucked up or be the person to say, well, let's just go ahead and get rid of it for free. Nobody wants to work for free, so that makes sense. But what do you do? How do you fix it?
Because it'll be bad for the environment if you bury it. So what are you going to do with it? Throw it up in the air? You look at certain areas around Coachella. You look at some of those areas where you have those abandoned wind farms. They look like junkyards. And remember, those windmills, many of them are very bad looking to start off. Some have a better design, but they start to rust, they start to rot. And in a certain number of years, they get abandoned. Mm-hmm. And they say, let's go to another location. No, it's like it's a very, very expensive form of energy.
You gotta reuse it
and solar's not powerful enough. If you look at solar, but it's just not big enough. And here we're sitting on the greatest amount of liquid gold, oil and gas anywhere in the world.
For now.
And we have it. And we're going to Venezuela now to get it. We're going all over. And we have it. We're sitting on it.
Because it's reserved.
And now they want to make all electric cars where the batteries are made exclusively by minerals and other things that are in China and other places that China, like the Congo, that China sort of controls, okay? And almost nothing comes out of the United States. It's almost as if they truly hate our country.
It's a big issue. Okay, so with the electric cars, it's to try and curb global warming. Okay, so global warming, for those who don't know, there's a big ass like ice cap in the Antarctic, and if that bitch melts, literal cities will be submerged in the United States, across the world, submerged. So like several states will be gone. Like that, if global warming continues. Like, I don't give a fuck if you don't believe it, look the shit up. If that shit melts, people will die. Maybe you, maybe me. But I live over by the mountains in Southeast Asia, so maybe I'm good. I don't know. But if you're not living on high elevation, you will be submerged. You will die. And that will be way worse than if we were trying to get electric chips from China in the Congo. Is that an issue? 100% yes, because then now we're putting all of our everything that we need, like vehicles and stuff like that, in the hands of our enemy. Like China is the enemy, point blank period. They are the enemy. The Chinese people, they're fine. The Chinese government, they're not fine. They are fucking crazy. But what do we do? Do we say, okay, well, let's go ahead and use our gas and oil and speed up the global warming process? Do we change to electric cars, or do we come up with something else like what was it, nuclear fusion or something like that? We had some type of renewable energy, except it's just not strong enough yet. I think we need to put our development into that and hope for the best. But hoping is not enough. We need a guarantee, and the only guarantee really is the gas, our own gas reserves, oil reserves, or move into electric. And with so many bureaucrats and politicians worrying about their own bottom line and their own pockets, it's kind of hard for anything to really work. There's a lot of corruption. Nobody's clean. Okay, nobody is clean in politics, point blank, period. Um, but that does need to change. If it doesn't change, nothing will change. And we'll just keep running around in circles, blaming this guy, blaming that guy. No, it wasn't me. It was them. Scapegoat, whatever. And overall, nothing good will happen.
Look,
Let's continue.
they're not stupid because they cheat on elections so well they can't be stupid. I really believe they must hate our country. Who wants an open border where people from mental institutions are being dumped into the U.S., where people from prisons, where entire prison populations of countries are being, and I do the same thing. If I was the president of a South American, or not only South American, they're coming from all over the world. They're dumping their prison population into the United States of America. They're dumping their people from mental institutions and words that aren't used anymore. Insane asylum. Did you ever hear? You're too young. That's
young,
where Silence of the Lamb.
Of course.
That's where Silence of the Lamb happens to be.
What's his name?
Represented. But insane asylums, these are seriously sick. They are being dumped into the United States of America, these people. There was an article I read not so long ago about a man who worked in a mental institution in South America. And he said, I work 24 hours. I have nothing to do anymore because our people that are here have all been brought to America. They've been dumped into the borders of these open borders. Who wants open borders? Who wants high interest rates? We have very high interest rates now. It's really clogging up. I mean, it's really causing a big problem. You're going to have a big recession very soon. So many different things that they're doing. Even the electric cars. Not everybody wants to drive a car for an hour and a half and then have the car.
I don't personally.
Right?
No.
I mean, you'd like to be able to drive for 6 hours or 7 hours and then get a nice load of very inexpensive gasoline.
And we don't live in those times anymore, President Trump. Times have changed. Even if you did start using our own gas and oil reserves, there's a matter of time until that is used up. So yeah, while you're alive and maybe your kid's alive and your grandkids are alive, kicking the can down the road is not the answer. That is not the right answer. Kicking the can down the road is how we got into this situation. You can't just keep kicking shit down the road if you don't like it. You have to find an actual solution.
So it's very sad what's happening in our country. But the biggest thing that's happening and the scariest thing that's happening is that we've never been in a position where we're more vulnerable because of the incredible power of weaponry, and other countries have these weapons.
That's what I want to. True. That is true because that has made the issue a lot worse. Back in the day, America, we could swing our dicks around and don't have to worry about consequences. That is no longer the case. You do have to be careful with who you're talking to. I mean, which is good and bad. I mean, we wouldn't really have to worry about it if we weren't swinging our dick around anyway. But will we be the number one country in the world if we didn't do that? I don't know. I wasn't there back in freaking 18, 16, 17, whatever the hell. Even if I was, I wouldn't even be able to allow to talk. So we got to figure out what we're doing now and stop worrying about the past. We need to figure out what we're going to do now with the future. The enemies have the weapons of mass destruction just like we do. What do? Do we disarm all the nukes? That would be smart. Do we just hold on and keep creating more and more nukes? I think that's a waste of money. I feel like creating more nukes, they're just going to create more anti-nuke weapons. And then it's just a fucking cat and mouse while taxpayer dollars are being wasted when we could try and figure out a solution to just make a better country.
Ask you about, because I've been watching a lot of stuff now, and to me I fil like people are not realizing like how close are we to like a World War III type scenario.
We're close with World War III every day, but it takes a super big ego to want to, like Putin invading a country right next to yours because you think you own it. That is a big ego, but having you need an ego like 10 times bigger than that to want to start a World War III. But it's always the little shit that wraps people up into something bigger. Nobody just says, "Okay, World War III, red button." It's I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this, and then somebody did this, and now we're at World War III.
Madman away.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of them.
When
right?
I was young,
and there's a lot.
I had an uncle who was a very brilliant man. He was a professor at MIT, and I believe he was the longest serving professor in the history of MIT. He was there for almost 40 years.
I could Google that.
Dr. John Trump, and he would tell me about the power of nuclear, and I sort of wouldn't believe it. And he was right. The power is so massive. It's so incredibly powerful. But everybody said, because of this power, nobody will use it, because they're assuming that people are sane. Somebody will use it. And when they use it, it will be devastation like never seen before. But the theory on nuclear is that it's so powerful that no person will ever use it. But that's assuming that people are sane.
Yeah.
Or it's assuming that people win wars, because, you're not going to use it. But if you're going to lose a war, you'll say, hey, we're losing the war. If we use nuclear, that makes up for a lot of loss. That's what will happen. And so it's very dangerous. But the theory was that nobody would ever use it because of the power, because of the destructive capability of nuclear. And the fact is that there are people out there right now, there are countries out there right now, the leaders and the leadership, and I know a lot of them, they would use it. If forced, they would use it. And once it gets used, the world as you know it will end. And when I see these people talking about global warming, where the ocean will rise by 1/100th of an inch over the next 350 years.
If the big ice one doesn't melt, then yeah, sure, it won't be that crazy. But if that big ice one melts, oh, we're fucked.
It's going to get a little bit warmer or a little bit cooler. They don't know. We used to be global warming.
They don't talk about it as much, though.
No, they don't talk. No,
Al Gore went into hiding or something.
Well, no, now they call it climate change, because they said it's going to get warmer. It was getting colder. Then it was going to get colder. It's getting warmer. They used to say global cooling because they thought the world was going to freeze. That was in the 1920s. They had a thing, global cooling.
Yeah, 1920s. Science changes over time. Maybe 10 years from now, the science will change and global warming was wrong, or maybe it was right. Who knows? Like, science is not set in stone.
Then it went to global warming, but that wasn't working. So now they go to climate change because that covers everything.
It does. It does.
The real global warming would be nuclear global warming. That's a warming that will take seconds.
Yeah,
and that's a warming that will melt granite. You know what granite is? It's a very powerful, very hard stone. If you take a look at Hiroshima, or Hiroshima, as a lot of people call it, Nagasaki, where they used nuclear in a very primitive form.
You said they. You should say we.
It actually took granite, large areas of granite, and melted it. And now it's like an ice skating rink. It melted into virtual water. And now when it hardened, it was absolutely stone cold level. It melted granite. You could hit granite with a blowtorch and it won't even do anything to it. So you're talking about a level of power, a level of heat, a level of destruction. Nobody talks about that. They talk about global warming.
They're both issues. They are both issues. Global warming and warming, nuclear disaster, they're both issues. The one thing is nuclear, instant death. Global warming, kick that shit down the can. My great grandkid will suffer with it. Fuck them. Not my problem. I'm already dead. That kicking the can down the road does not solve the issue. They are both bad. They are both issues. One might be worse than the other, but they are both issues.
Sick. And we have to get rid of nuclear weapons. One of the things I was going to do, and I would have done, is the denuking of everything.
Really?
The denuclearization of everything, because you have
How do you do that? how do you denuclear? Like we could say, okay, we're getting rid of our nukes. How do we make everybody else do it?
Take them away. You have to get rid of and Russia would have done it, and China would have done it. I used to talk to Putin about it.
How do you know that?
He loved the idea of doing it.
So what? We would have taken away nukes, and
No,
they would have as well.
where you denuclearize, where you actually get rid of nuclear weapons. They're too destructive. They're so bad. They're so dangerous. They're so. A World War III will be many, many, many times greater than World War I or World War II because of the weaponry. You're not going to have army tanks going around shooting each other. You may have that too, but ultimately that won't matter. And we really, when I was doing Tucker Carlson the other night, we were talking about it. And
hey, yo,
great guy.
He is a great guy, and he's, we had a really good show. We talked a lot about it, and he said, that's right. What's worse? And this could take place in seconds. This isn't in 300 years from now. And the radical left never likes talking about it, and they should talk about it. And other countries know.
I think all cards should definitely be on the table.
Exactly what I'm talking about. And they would get rid of a lot of their nuclear weapons or their nuclear weapons. You have to do it. It's a level of danger that the world has never seen before, and people don't talk about it.
It's just hard to believe that. To say that, I was going to denuke everything. The Russians said they were going to denuke stuff. But you said earlier, oh, yeah, I know some people, if they were going to lose, they were going to use nukes. So how can you believe the same guy that's willing to take down everybody because he's that petty, he's going to destroy everything because he's losing? How are you going to say, he's going to get rid of his nukes, no issue? I just don't believe. That sounds like fucking copium, bro. That does not sound real. That does not sound real at all.
Do you think that based off your relationship with Putin, that you could convince him to withdraw from Ukraine?
He would have never gone into. We used to talk.
You can't. That's why he sidestepped it. He's going to talk about how he never would have did it. We're friends, whatever, blah, blah, blah. He never would have did it. He's not going to answer the question about him leaving because it's too late. Putin's already put several lives, several hundreds of millions of their rubles, all of that burnt. And for what? Why would he leave now? All these people are dead. Their economy is gone to even more shit. Like, there's no point in withdrawing. It's all or nothing at this point. It's either we take Ukraine or we blow everything up.
Talk about it. He was always, look, he's in love with Ukraine.
But then again, what's his face? Fuckboy in the Air Force. He's from the Air Force. Anyways, that fuckboy, he went ahead and showed off all that classified information. So the Ukrainians are kind of fucked right now. All their bases are getting leveled and shit because all that information is now on the net.
He considers it a part of
for Discord class,
Mother Russia,
of all things,
and all.
Idiot.
But there's zero chance it would have. I told him, not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Don't forget, I'm the one that said you can't have a pipeline, and he was okay with that. And then Biden came in and approved the pipeline. It's called Nord Stream 2. You never heard of Nord Stream 2 until I came along. Building a pipeline to Germany and all of Europe. And I said to Germany, why would you do this? If you ever ended up in a war with Russia,
they just cut that shit off.
I will hereby give you the great white flag of surrender because that's what you need. You're going to surrender. They're going to do 80% of their energy through Russia, who they fought wars with over many years, but they fought many wars. And I said, you can't do that. Now, we are at a point in time that I believe, without question, because of the power of weaponry, is at a level that we've never had. When you go to those two places that I said, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and when you look at the destruction done many, many years ago, the destruction done, the power, and you multiply that power times 500, that's what you're talking about.
A lot of shit going on.
And we can't have it. And we have very weak leadership. We have incompetent leadership. We have leadership that doesn't understand.
I 100% agree.
That this is something that can happen. We have leadership that doesn't hear other people when they talk about it. And they don't get it. We have incompetent leaders. This would never happen. All of the things that we have, you wouldn't have inflation. Because energy, we had energy, very inexpensive energy. We had energy independence, soon to have energy dominance. We would have been selling to Europe. We would have been selling all over the world. We were bigger when I left. We were number one in the world at energy. natural gas, oil and natural gas. We were filling up the strategic reserves. Biden took the strategic reserves that I was filling up and he emptied them out now to the lowest point. Those reserves are meant for war, not to get people's gasoline prices down so they look good in an election. But he did that. And now so many things have been wrong. Even we mentioned before the supply chain. Who ever heard of a supply chain problem? You order something and you get it. Now you order something and they tell you won't have it for years. You won't have it for years. Nobody ever heard of it before. We've become somewhat of a third world country. Our election's a third world. Sorry to tell you that.
You know, we had our friend Steve on the last podcast and he got canceled from YouTube. And if he's on camera, they'll delete our entire channel too.
Oh,
so they're taking it to the next level.
Yeah, but he's my friend.
It's crazy.
That is called, we don't have freedom of the press.
As someone who lives in a third world country right now, because it's technically a third world country, America being called a third world country is pretty legit, honestly. The only issue is I think living in America might be a little bit worse. Like, the only thing America really has, and this one is a stretch, is the quality. The only like big thing that's like, yeah, it's like the freedom, but even the freedom is kind of even waning. But it's just, no country is perfect. I mean, I hear Sweden's pretty fucking good, but I mean, you just don't know until you visit these places. I've traveled almost all over Southeast Asia and Eastern Asia, so I still have more of the world to explore before I can say like, yeah, America. I know America's pretty shit, but in context, it could be worse. Okay, because I just got back from the Philippines. You can see all this construction. Check my IG, Instagram link down below. Check my story of when I was in the Philippines. I'm over in this high-rise ass area. There's a bar at the top with with like music and food, whatever, steak, whatever, right? And I look around, and I'm in Cebu in the Philippines. I look around, bro. All you see is these big construction buildings being built. But what is it being built around? Literal slums. People in poverty live right next to these big ass high rise buildings. Some of them got pools and shit. Right down, not even like down the street, across the street is somebody like bathing outside because they don't have a shower. They like bathing outside with like the water in the fucking thing. I'm not saying the Philippines is shit, but it's weird. It's different. Would you see that in America? No. You'll see the high-rise buildings all together, the city, and then if you look outside the city, there you see the slums. So there's a difference, right? But even like in LA, like Skid Row and stuff like that, like it's not that far from the city. Like it became its own area. So to compare like America to the Philippines for like third world country versus America being third world, I want to say it'd be like more like a second world country. Like America has a mask of beauty, but as soon as you take that mask off, you can see all the ugliness. You can see like the ghettos, the slums, the old blocks, the trenches, like all that shit. You can see it, but you could also see like the suburbs over here, fancy ass Texas housing being cheap as fuck, and then you can see California expensive for nothing. It's crazy. And then you see the Philippines, everything's cheap. Everything is cheap. But some people can't even afford the stuff that's moderately more expensive. And when I say more expensive, I'm talking like $50 a month for an apartment. For a one-bedroom apartment, $50 a month. That's nothing. But to them, that's crazy. You can't even dream about living in a $50 a month apartment. You would love that. And then you go into the $50 a month apartment. It looks fine. It looks nice. And then you go into the shower area and there's like a bucket and you got to like use the bucket to wash yourself. You put the water in the bucket and you put the bucket water on you. It doesn't just come out the shower. You know what I'm saying? Well, you don't know what I'm saying. You've probably never been in the Philippines, but yeah, it's different. It's a big difference.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're the press because, you know, the press used to be like a piece of paper. You're the press now. You and other people and other things, whether it's internet or not. I didn't know that. That's terrible.
Do you think that we're becoming like a third world country where we're going after like former leaders like a banana republic?
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's what they do in third world countries. They go after.
They changed the leadership through force. I think we tried that January 6th and it didn't work because they halfway, like they went into the building, they didn't really do shit and left and got arrested later. If there was a more of a plan to actually attack with weapons, like they had, some of them had guns, but nobody used them. If they did, then yeah, I mean, you can see it. That was some third world country shit. It was some third world, except nothing happened because nobody really did anything. I think one person lost their life. It sucks to be them, but I mean, that's nothing. Usually in a coup, a lot more people die.
The former leaders, so they can't come back. I have people investigating me over nothing, over things like the boxes hoax, and we had a DA from New York who campaigned, and an AG in New York, campaigned on "I will get Trump." But they investigate me over things that Biden has been horrible with. He's broken every law, every regulation in the book, every single regulation in the book. Nobody talks about that.
That's normal. And yeah, victim blaming, pointing the finger, whatever. I think that's a bitch move to be like, oh, Biden did this, but when I did it, oh, it was a big deal. I think that's a bitch move personally, but I get the issue. You want it to be equal playing field. If I do something, I get in trouble, he should get in trouble too. But that's just not how it works, and that's how it should work. So I understand why he's bitching. I just don't like seeing him be a bitch.
Because it's called election interference.
Everyone sees it now, though.
They see it. Oh, they see it. Well,
It's
when
been
they announced
shown.
this
It's not
event,
new.
my poll numbers went up. You see my poll number. I'm beating I'm beating Biden by a lot. But what they want to do is investigate you and keep investigating. Because if I was doing badly in the polls, number one, you'd be able to put me on, but nobody would care. Maybe, but you wouldn't be canceled. But if I was doing badly in the polls, there would be no investigations. There'd be no problems. Or if I would not run, there would be no problems. Although I think in my case, maybe in my case, they hate me so much. I think it doesn't even matter.
Another thing I want to ask too, something historic that I'm always amazed by.
Because Donald doesn't play the puppet game, and if he wants to be the puppet master, and when you're the president, you're usually more like in between. But Donald is like, no, I'm in charge. So other people, because there's checks and balances, they don't like that shit. So obviously they're gonna go after him. Like that's not even a surprise.
You did is how you got along so well with all these world leaders, especially Kim Jong-un. What
I did.
What was he like as like a person? Because he's like such a mysterious Batman kind of like figure. No one knows what he's like. What is Kim Jong-un?
Well, first of all, he's very smart, and he's very cunning, and he's very ruthless.
How so? Like what makes him so smart?
Well, I guess
he's educated. The fuck?
Genetically, he was born pretty smart. Don't forget, he took over.
The question is, how is he so smart? He was taught as a young kid to be the fucking leader of his country. Like, he didn't go in public school. What the fuck kind of question is that?
For a country at 23. And even though he was sort of like, it was like an inheritance, this is a country with smart, energetic people. He, from a very early start, got it. He took it over from his father, but very young. And you had generals and you had all of these people and armies and, everything. And he gained control. And let me tell you, he is the boss of that country. But I got to know him very well. And I think we would have had nuclear war. Had Obama been able to stay, or had crooked Hillary Clinton become president, you would have had a nuclear war with North Korea. Absolutely. I think you would have had. And if you remember with me, it was very rough. Little Rocket Man, and he was calling me names, and I'm calling him names. And remember, he said, I have a red button on my desk, and it's got very big power. And I said, no, I have a much bigger button than you do, and my button works. And we went through so
how did you
much.
guys squash that? Because Little Rocket Man, that's a big church.
So
how did
we went
he
through,
get past that?
I said, did you ever hear of the song Rocket Man when I was with him? He said, no. Did you ever hear of Elton John? No. I actually handed him
Saved the World.
the song Rocket Man, which is a pretty good song by Elton John, but he never heard
Saved the
because
World.
it truly is. It's a country.
Wait, you gave him
I gave him tape, and
like a vinyl?
I didn't show that it was made in South Korea. That the recorder it said South Korea. I said, take that off. We had it chiseled off. He probably figured it out. No, he's a very smart guy.
Fuck.
And every time I say that, the fake news media goes, Oh, he said he was smart. The other day I was talking with
smart.
Tucker about President Xi of China. He rules powerfully. He rules almost 1.5 billion people. And, you could say that they're eating our lunch. And I said, no, he's at the top of his game. And the others are at the top. They're all at the top of the game, except our guy. He's not at the top of his game, and he never was, to be honest. But he's not at the top of his game. Now, you have other people surrounding him who are vicious and ruthless, the same people that take you down because of, that you're not on. That's very, I kept saying, where the hell is T? What happened to him? I think that's such a terrible thing. You know what you just said about that? I say, we no longer have a democracy. And I say, we don't have free speech. That's an incredible form of not having free speech. They took it.
The issue is, this is YouTube. This is not just like public media. YouTube is a private company. They don't have the obligation to enforce freedom of speech or freedom of religion, freedom of press. They choose who and what they like and what they don't like, and that's their prerogative. It's their website. If you don't like it, do what Donald Trump did: create your own website. When you create your own website, you can do whatever the fuck you want. It's
him
simple.
Down for what? Because he likes Trump?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I've been saying. But we're going to win. Look, we're going to take it back. The country has never been more unified in the sense that they have to have change. I'll tell you, this election coming up, they go after me because I stick up for the people. If I didn't stick up for the people, they wouldn't. But they go after me because I'm protecting the people. This election coming up is going to be incredible. And I will say, I think 2016 was maybe the biggest thing that ever happened in politics in this country.
No,
I think 2024 has a chance to be as big. I don't know if it could be bigger.
I guess when you say like viewership wise, politics blew up. It blew up when this man, I remember in the crowd when Don was running, he said like some dude did something. He's like, "That's why you're fat." It's like, bro, you ain't never heard that before.
It's going to be big.
I think the win of 2024 will be much, much bigger than if it was a traditional, because you're going to be able to show how bad things were under their rule.
Do you think that your biggest competition lies within your own party?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like from the people running in the party?
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. I think the Democratic Party, they don't really have anybody with a face because politics unfortunately, has turned into a popularity contest. And of course, you can say, of course, it's a popularity contest. You will vote. The difference is, back then, you would be like, okay, so what are they running for? Blah, 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 blah. What are they promising to do for the country? Are they going to lower taxes? You would look into their resume. You would hear their speeches. Now it's like, oh, I know him. He's famous. Oh, I know him. I know her. I know what they did. Then you would just automatically vote for them. That's what it's changed.
Yeah, but they're really fading fast.
And there's nobody really on the Democratic Party that can really match Donald Trump's celebrity. Only the old, really like the people that are really into politics would really look into who they want to vote for and why. But at the end of the day, when you vote, you're not voting for the country. You're usually voting for your own agenda. So whoever affects you the most is who you're going to vote for.
I mean, it's fading very, very quickly. You have a guy from Florida, Ron DeSantis, who I got in with my endorsement. He was at 3 points. He was nothing. He was not going to win. He was going to lose, and I endorsed him.
Ron.
And then when they asked him not only there, then I got him through the general election. He was running against somebody who at the time was considered very good as a politician. And then when they asked him a few years later, are you going to run against the president? He said, I have no comment. I said, that's not supposed to happen. He was he was dead politically. I endorsed him and saved him. Had I endorsed, he was losing by like 25, 30 points very shortly before the election. When I endorsed him, he went like a rocket ship. Like
you love that song,
like
huh?
Rocket Man. He went like a rocky. I should call him Rocket Man, but now he's Rocket Man that's crashing. His polls are terrible. I'm leading him in every state. And we just came out with, they just came out with.
And that's mostly not because Ron is really, Ron is not fighting back. Ron DeSantis is not fighting back. He could have, but he is like, he doesn't have the backbone to do it. And it's understandable. Donald Trump did help him, did give him clout, did do a lot of stuff for him. So for Ron DeSantis, as soon as Donald Trump's being thrown into the mud to take over, that's some backstab shit. But that's political stuff. Ron DeSantis 100% would have done it and nobody would have cared because that's how politics work. Ron is trying to like stay on Trump's good side for whatever reason. I don't know why. Why would you care? Maybe he really likes Donald Trump. I don't know, but he's really sacrificing his own political career for this man.
With new polls, I'm leading him everywhere.
Why do you think he's besides that? Because he's done a pretty good job with Florida. You agree? Why do you think you're a better choice than DeSantis?
Well, actually, if you look at the numbers, he didn't do a great job. If you take a look at the numbers, he's very high on crime, very high, right at the top, almost at the top. I think he gets good publicity, although now people are starting, because I'm putting out the COVID numbers. He didn't do well on COVID. He had more deaths than almost every country in Florida. I hate to say it because Florida's my state. But he did not do well. It's very interesting. I don't want to knock anybody, but the thing he did well on is public relations, because the numbers weren't what they pretended to be. With all of that being said, when you help somebody, I believe in loyalty. You just don't do what he did. Now he's out campaigning. I assume he's going to run.
Yeah, like I said, Ron DeSantis just hasn't really gone out there. Like when he was getting the lead and everybody was behind him, he did not run with it. He didn't say, "Yeah, I'm taking over." Like, yeah, he copied Donald Trump's mannerisms in his like newer speeches and whatever, but he didn't really run with it. Was he being disloyal? Maybe, but he wasn't. He what? Okay, was he being loyal to Donald Trump? Whatever. But was he being disloyal? I don't think he was being disloyal. I think he was looking out for his best interest, and he just didn't know what his best interest was, whether it was to run and just throw Donald away or to try and stay by Donald's side. I don't know.
But I think the numbers are so bad now that a lot of people are assuming that he won't run. And
would you consider him like to be your running mate?
I don't see it. I mean, I don't see it. We have a lot of great people in the Republican Party. Could be. I'm going to speak right now in front of a lot of them. I mean, they're actually all waiting for me because I'm talking to the Nelk boys.
Let's go.
But they don't realize that the Nelk boys are probably a lot more powerful than them. I can tell you, when I did your last show, when I did that show, I got more calls from people that I hadn't heard of in 20 years. I say, that was the greatest show. So you've done a great job, fellas.
You were talking about Rocket Man.
And it's true. Right across the hall, you have the most powerful people in the nation. You have the most powerful governors, senators. You have everybody waiting for me to speak. And here I am, sitting with you, not saying to hurry up, because you're the Nelk boys, right? That's pretty good.
You're the best.
You talked about Rocket Man, how you love that song. People don't know this, but you have a Spotify song, don't you?
What?
A song on Spotify, right?
Are you Spotify?
You hit the Billboard charts.
You hit the top of the charts.
Oh, so we did that's right. I had The Apprentice.
That's a good switch to take it off of politics and go on to something else.
It went to number one. I did great in real
I could talk about politics all day.
estate. I did great in politics. But the one thing I hadn't done, I always wanted to be Elvis Presley. I hadn't hit number one on the charts. No, we did a thing. It was actually very beautiful. A version of a very important song that you probably heard. And it was done by the J6 prisoners who have been treated horribly. When you see the way Antifa got treated and so many others that did such destruction and caused death, and these people were treated horribly, and they asked would I do a voiceover. I did basically a voiceover of the song. And it went to number one on Billboard, on iTunes. Really? These are names I never even heard of 3 weeks ago. But iTunes, number one, Billboard, number one. Billboard's like a big deal because that's sort of like you would tell me. But as you know, it went to number. It's Donald J. Trump and the J6 Choir.
That's amazing.
Wow.
That's January 6th. And it shows you where the country is. But this song stayed there. And then interestingly, it was taken down by a group because they wanted to try and kill it because they hated that it was number one. And they said, we accidentally made a mistake in taking it down, and we'll be putting it up. And they put it up a couple of days, and it went back to number one again. They tried to kill it by creating a little separation. No, it was a great honor to do it with them, and it was a great honor to see it hit number one. I didn't expect that.
Are you going to be coming out with any follow-up songs or?
Well, we'll do something. We have a lot of things planned, but we're going to have an exciting campaign.
Yeah.
We have rallies planned all over the country, and they're going to be massive rallies. I don't know. You guys
We'd love
maybe,
to come. We'd love to
Well,
come.
we'll have you at the rallies.
We'll be there.
You guys may be able to do bigger rallies than me, but I'm not sure about that.
No,
But
definitely not. We'll get there one day.
You could do big
We'll
rallies.
get there one day. Give
You're
us
going to
20
be
years or
there.
something.
You'll be there. No, I'm impressed. I'm impressed by what you've done.
Awesome. Well, we were thinking we want to end off with a little rapid fire. We have a couple names. You say one word about them.
Go ahead. Which one do you
Elon
like?
Musk. One word.
One word, smart.
Okay.
Joe Biden.
Dumb.
Damn.
Kim Jong Un.
Interesting.
Okay.
Very interesting.
O.J. Simpson, which we had on this podcast.
Well, I knew
actually.
OJ very well. I knew him very well.
Word. Cool.
I better not get into it. I knew OJ so well. It
Cheater
was-
on the golf course.
No, I don't think he cheats. But I'd say golf. I mean, he loves playing golf. I just say golf because I want to be very nice. That was a terrible situation.
Kim Kardashian.
Disingenuous.
Damn.
Justin
See,
Trudeau.
I help.
I'm from Canada, by the way, too.
Extraordinarily liberal, as it turned out. I never like one word because you really need more than one word to define people. But it's already much different than people thought. I had a pretty good relationship with him, but much different. I've had better relationships with some.
Ice
Liberal.
Ice Spice.
Who the hell is Ice Spice?
Bro, they need to play Munch for him. Oh, I gotta see Donald Trump's reaction to Ice Spice Munch. Oh my God, that's gonna be hilarious.
You don't know Ice Spice? Like, da munch.
You've heard the song.
Nah, bro, say the lyrics. What? You thought I was feeling you? That I want to hear him say it.
Hell is Ice Spice?
What is Munch?
You don't know Ice Spice? Like, da munch.
You've heard the song.
Go ahead, play
She's
it
below
for
you
me.
on the charts.
Play it. Well, I like it.
Please play
Okay, I like it.
it. Please
Go ahead.
play it.
Oh, I think that's all
Play
the
it.
names.
Are aliens real?
That was the last question.
That's an interesting. I don't personally. I
You
don't
don't talk.
think so.
You don't talk about aliens.
I don't.
much.
I'm not a big alien person. I got enough things going without worrying about it. But I'll tell you what, you have a lot of smart people that think that there happens to be a certain site that's the number one most visited site in the whole country. You know that,
What's
right?
that?
Do you know what I'm talking about? Where they think the aliens come down, and
I haven't been
No.
on that.
I'll tell you about it after the show.
I thought it was a
sick.
different site. That was
One
more
Once
sensitive.
a different.
One last question. Biden said that you actually left him a very generous letter when you left office. Is there anything you can include that you said to him?
So I did. No, I wrote him a letter. And it's a tradition as president. When you leave, you write a letter to the person coming in. No, I wrote a beautiful letter. I mean, if he wanted to give it, he could do that. But it was a nice letter. I got a nice letter from President Obama.
Amazing.
Thank you
President
very
Trump, we
much.
gotta go.
Thank you so much, man.
I think
you
we
very
might come to your
much.
rally. We'll watch you speak.
Why don't you
but
come up? I'd love to have you.
We'd love you.
know?
We'd love to do that.
You'll be the most important people in the room.
But we really
no, but these are
appreciate
the
you.
biggest people in politics. You have no idea how late I am, and I didn't rush you.
Thank you
right?
so much.
We appreciate
We
you.
appreciate you.
Let's go.
You guys better drop a thumbs up. If you're watching this on YouTube before it gets deleted, drop a
I already did, bro. If that shit gets deleted, that sucks ass. But yeah, it was an interesting video. Interesting to hear the former president of the United States. Yeah, I already said everything I needed to say in the video. Like, this is a 40-minute video. My reaction's an hour long. So, I said what I needed to say. I think it's interesting. If this video does get views, thank you for watching. If you watched all the way, thank you. Leave a comment if you want to. Try and keep it civil. If you say some stupid stuff, I'm gonna ban you. So yeah. See y'all guys next time. Peace.